Welcome to the Spike Camp podcast. Spike Camp is a free online community for hunters that support conservation. It's a great place to share stories and your experience with other hunters. As a member of Spike Camp, you get access to all of our hunting live streams, discussion channels, contests, hunter resources, and events that we host. Membership to Spike Camp is free. Our only ask is that you are a member of a hunting or conservation group before you register. Head over to spikecamp.com to join us. This episode of the Spike Camp podcast is brought to you in part by Spartan Precision Equipment. Spartan Precision produces rifle and optic support systems that weigh less and do more. Born from backcountry hunting, their lightweight bipods and tripods aim to help you master your marksmanship. Visit javelinbipod.com to see their available products and learn more.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight to this episode of Camp Chat. Tonight's guest is a good friend of ours, Andre Brosseau. Is a buddy of ours. I met him a few years ago at I think the first time I met you was at the Wild Sheep Society golf tournament in Kamloops. I think we shared a table at dinner afterwards, and we talked for a good couple hours, and we've stayed in touch ever since. Seen you at the shows a couple times. And by the way, that golf tournament, I believe, is coming up this weekend. I think it's Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm still on the fence whether I can make it or not. Are you going this year, Andre? Are you going to make it?
Unfortunately, it's my sheep hunting partner's 40th birthday.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it's nice having a younger partner for hunting sheep.
Yeah,
So,
I do the same. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be up at my cabin up in the Caribou, and if I can slip away, I will. I've got some construction contractors and stuff coming in. We've got a big family reunion there in a few weeks, so I don't know if I'll be able to slip away or not. But anyway, buddy, welcome to Spike Camp. We've been talking about doing this for a while now, and thanks for doing it.
yeah, every time I run into you, I got to get you on here. I got to hear some of your stories. And
yeah,
I think that for sure the first time we met was at that golf tournament. And what a great way of raising funds, for the Wild Sheep Society. Meet other sheep hunters. And I think you had just launched Spike Cam. I think for some reason, I think it was I would think number 80 something. I don't know if there's a way of checking, but as soon as I saw this, I'm like, great, this is fantastic. A way of connecting with other hunters.
Yeah, that's right. So that would have been that was 2 years ago. So we launched in April. Launched in April, and then the golf tournament was in June, and I think we'd sponsored a hole, and we sat on the hole all day visiting guys, and that was a blast. But it was super windy, and I think we had a beanbag toss going on ours, and get a bunch of drunk sheep hunters trying to hit the cornhole with the lightweight beanbags in the wind. And I think we had two points collected all day of all that, but it was fun. It was a good time. So.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of unsuccessful tosses there. And the one I was really laughing at is when the guys were filling a pack full of weight and they had to judge the weight. Man, guys were way off. I don't think anybody was within 5 or 10 pounds.
No, nobody was for sure. But you're right. Yeah, super good event, and hopefully it's well attended this year. And it's certainly, what a great place to have a tournament. First of all, like you're literally playing around sheep all day. They're walking across the fairway and the tee boxes and the greens and stuff. So yeah, super cool place. So hope that works out well for them. So anyway, I asked you for a little note the other day. Send me a little background. And typically, Andre, when I ask someone for that, I'll get like a sentence. But you sent me a very good one, and Blake says, "What do you want to do with this?" I said, "Shit, post it, man. He just made my job easy. Like, I just got to refer to this awesome bio." But thank you for doing that, man. I appreciate it. That's awesome.
Well, I figured I'd give you sort of the short version. Like, just, okay, here's when I kind of started sheep hunting. Here's, some things I did, and I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's funny because you and I are similar in age. I'm older than you by about a year or so. And I didn't start my sheep hunting ventures until I was like 50. Like, I didn't go on my first hunt until I think it was either 49 or 50, and instant addiction for me. Before we get into that, I want to back up. I noticed in your bio you mentioned when you were growing up in Alberta, your dad wasn't a big game hunter, so to speak, but outdoorsman and birds and stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a reference to bow hunting, and that your first animal was a deer with a bow, and it was the last time you shot a deer with a bow. I'm curious where that goes. Maybe you could tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, actually, I really got into bow hunting. We had a cabin up at a place called Bonnyville, northeastern Alberta, and my dad had bought me a pellet gun, like probably a lot of kids had. And there's lots of ground squirrels in the area. So I was probably, 10, 11 years old when he got me this pellet gun. So my job was to go shoot gophers. And I had an older cousin, Pierre, just a couple of years, and he had one of those fiberglass bows. I don't know if you ever remember seeing those sort of fiberglass bows, and they're red, and it has like some wooden arrows with it. And I just love shooting that thing. And I kind of got addicted to archery. So when I was 13 years old, I went and bought my first recurve bow, which I still have. The compounds were actually just starting to come out. So the guys were sort of giving me the pros and cons. So I actually started recurve hunting at 12 years old. You were supposed to start hunting when you're 14 in Alberta, but we may have bent the regulations a little bit. I never did get anything, but my dad was really encouraging me to get out there and start, shooting the bow. So I was tree stand hunting. I think I was 13 years old was the first time. My mom was she would drive me out to my tree stand. She'd read a book. I'd come back. She probably only did about a half dozen, never did see anything or shoot anything. So I really got into the archery. And when I was 14, I bought my first compound bow. And we were used to hunt in southern Alberta for mule deer. So it's actually funny, Kyle Stelter, who we were just maybe 20 miles from his farm, and we hunted on some of his friends' land. And I just wanted to get something, and day 3 I snuck in, and this doe came out of this coulee about 20 yards, and I just nailed it, and that was fantastic. And I've really been hooked with bow hunting, and I passed up lots of deer. Like I wasn't one that just had to go shoot a deer, and passed up some good mule deer bucks, passed up some whitetails because we were living in Edmonton, so there's that bow zone right around Edmonton. Passed up some nice little bucks in there, and then I got into elk hunting with a bow. And I was 16, and I had a cousin living up by Athabasca, and they just had a bow season there. Man, were there elk in that area. Like
I hunted Athabasca a couple of years ago. I did a COVID moose meat hunt up there, and yeah, man, there's a ton of them in there. Great area.
And they hadn't been hunted. They were just bow only. And my cousin was a conservation officer up there, so he had kind of a pin where these elk were, and we were hunting in this region. And I'd go there after school on a Friday, pack my bugle, and boy did I have fun. Absolute fun. I bugled in about 7 different bulls when I was 16 over season. Yeah, and I finally arrowed, not recovered, just a monster 6-point. I chased that guy for 3 hours, and every time I would call, he'd get further. And then I'd sneak in, I'd call. He must have had a big harem with him and big herd. And finally, all of a sudden, just all went quiet. You know that when it just gets quiet, and I'm sitting there, you just hear a little crunch, and I look over, and he's got his neck stretched out, his eyes are just bugged, and he's looking. And I was shooting an 80-pound compound, I think maybe a 17 then, PSE, and I pulled back and I laid it. I thought right behind his shoulder and just smack right into the shoulder blade. And just I got 2 inches of penetration. It just stuck right in there and gone. So that was so much. But yeah, for that season, for bow hunting, I think it was at the same season. I think I was bow hunting up in Canmore too that year for sheep. But yeah, I really enjoyed bow hunting. I think maybe for a new hunter in some ways, as a newer hunter, my dad wasn't really a big game hunter, is that learned me patience. Because you gotta wait for hours on these deer sometime. and I think that's a real benefit. And also, the advantage of getting in tight and getting close to animals. And I still really always try to do that. I really don't like taking long shots unless
Mhm.
it's, last resort. Sure, I can reach out and touch them, but why not? Why not get in close is what I try to do. I try to shoot everything, under that 100 yards when I can.
Yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
I've shot things at 400, but
Mhm.
as a rule, I think I would say 80% of everything I've shot has been within that 150 yards.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely not a bad policy, personal policy. And like you said, the archery skills, it's a different game, right? I mean, you got to hunt within that comfortable boundary for archery equipment, and it just teaches you a whole new skill set. And I totally get it. So then let's jump into sheep hunting. So you were 16 years old and you went on your first was that a backpack hunt then with a buddy? Tell us about that trip.
Yeah,
That sounds
backpacking out with a
awesome.
buddy. So yeah, my mom was, I have to give my mom credit. She was pretty good and felt that I could always take care of myself. I'm sure my
Hmm.
dad always knew that. So living in Edmonton, I had a buddy. I actually think it was sort of the summer of grade 10, between grade 10 and grade 11.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was that year. And I convinced a buddy of mine, Kevin. I said, "Hey, you want to come on a hiking trip and we'll maybe make it into a bit of a sheep hunt?" He's like, "Oh, sure, that sounds like a great idea." So
Was he a hunter?
no, he wasn't a hunter,
Okay.
but
He was a
he was
packer.
up for he was up for an adventure.
Yep.
So all summer I dehydrated food and potatoes and carrots and noodles and sauces. Like those Lipton noodles and sauces was pretty much what I lived off of. I don't know if I really knew much about dehydrated food, and bought an Eddie Bauer backpack and some crummy Browning boots that were totally ill suited, and rubber rain gear in case it rained. And
Hmm.
we drove out to Hinton, and south of Hinton there's Catamount, which,
Yeah.
I mean, Catamoun's been just renowned for big rams.
Yeah.
Uh,
The Mecca.
it's been a mecca. Yeah, there's some absolute monster rams in there, but we were able to. So we went in about, I don't know, probably 20 miles south of there. The guy I knew said, "Here's a spot to go," and we just hiked this ridge in for about 5 hours and set up, and we're looking around, and we had no idea what we're doing, like none,
Mhm.
no clue. I had some 8 power cheap binoculars, and to tell what was legal, all I did is I cut a picture out of the hunting regulations and I taped
Oh
it to
yeah,
the stock of the gun.
that's smart.
Well, I don't know if it's smart.
Lots of
So,
reference.
yeah,
Oh
so we're in there for 3 days, and we did see ewes and lambs, but we didn't know what we were doing. No clue.
yeah.
But we got out there and did it, right?
Hmm.
And I learned a bit about what was going on. Learned the area. I don't know what the population was back there in the early 80s, if it was sort of on a low or when
Yeah.
things kind of crashed. But it was nice seeing sheep and just getting out in the mountains.
So was this an opener type of thing, like early season?
Yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
would have been, school would have started. Let me see, August 25th. Probably would have been opener because school usually started right after the long weekend.
Yep.
And I pretty much had to make school for the opening. My dad was good about taking me out for other times in the year, so he'd take me out going, duck hunting primarily. The odd time we go for a day deer hunting. Um,
Hmm.
that's one nice thing about having a parent who hunted, is that I get a few extra days off
Oh yeah.
to go hunting.
Yeah. Exactly. You'll learn more out with me than you will in a classroom. That's the old standard
Yeah.
line. It's true. It's very true.
Well, yeah, my dad was the superintendent of the school board in Edmonton at the time, so
Well,
I don't
that'll do it.
I don't think they were going to argue too much with it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, did you guys encounter any crazy stories on that? Was it any bad weather and bears or nothing like that? Just a sort of a pretty simple trip.
Yeah, well, the craziest thing about that trip is we're driving and I get to about Hinton, and all of a sudden I'm in pain. Like I'm not feeling good, like right in my lower abdomen. This got kind
Oh
of funny
shit.
story. So I'm like, oh, something's not right here. So by the time we get about a half hour out of Hinton, I'm like, I think I got an appendicitis attack. So Kevin
Oh
drives me to
shit.
the hospital. Drives me to the hospital. They wheel me in. One look at me into the emergency. give me a shot of morphine, and I'm just doing the
Oh
old
yeah.
pass out thing. And Kevin's there by himself. He's 16 years old. We have no credit cards. We know nothing. Unfortunately, I had the phone number of somebody I knew in Hinton.
Mm.
He phoned him, got to spend the night. They drugged me up, and I actually don't know what it ended up being. Got up in the morning, felt good, went to Smitty's and went hunting.
Well,
That was the craziest thing. Like, I probably shouldn't have done that because if I had a true appendicitis attack out there, that was the craziest thing that happened. It's totally unrelated to the hunt.
well, lucky it didn't happen on the mountain, right?
Yeah, that would have
That
been.
would have been different. Do you recall on that trip? It was pretty short, but do you recall any lessons you learned? Like, was there like an oh shit moment or anything like that on the first one?
No, that's a long time ago. My
Yeah,
my mind's getting kind of foggy as far as on details, but I
yeah,
can
no
definitely
doubt.
add some oh shit. I've had lots of oh shit moments.
Oh yeah,
Um,
we'll get there.
but
So then you based on what your notes were, you did a couple more trips,
yeah,
a couple more sheep hunts, and then as it always does, life kind of steps in the way, especially for a young guy. Got
yeah,
school, got your career, family, etc. So when was it? Would you say 2005? Sheep hunting hit the radar again, right?
yeah, yeah. Because by that time, I was really getting antsy, and I had an acreage, I had horses, and I was starting to do trail riding west of Sundre, up in the Yaha Tinder Ranch, and I really wanted to get onto the sheep hunting again. So I borrowed some packing equipment from a buddy of mine, and I took a friend. The two of us went into the Wilmore Wilderness.
Mm.
That was a trip. That took us. It was a 12-hour ride into where we got to, and we were just trying to learn the territory.
Were you sheep hunting or is this a trail ride? This was a sheep hunt.
No, we were sheep hunting.
Okay.
So we went in, packed in. We spent 7 days in there, and that's actually the first time I ever saw a grizzly.
Oh,
I had never seen a grizzly until that time, and we're riding one night coming off of a mountain, and all of a sudden that horse just buckle stops, and I look over, and down on the drainage about 50 yards there's this big boar, and he's just turning up these rocks, like just like nothing. But that Wilmore is a really cool spot. We went into, it was Rock Creek is where we went in, and geez, we saw a lot of mountain goats too. Lots of mountain
yeah.
goats, caribou. I actually found a pair of caribou sheds. I probably have one of the last Alberta caribou sheds there from a bull.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a long ride in there, and I'm trying. I think it was called the Indian Graves. I'd have to sort of rack my brain to where exactly we went in there. But bringing the horses is a whole different experience. So
Oh yeah.
you set your tent up at night, and have a couple of whiskeys and go to sleep, and you put the bells on them in the morning, and then trying to go find them. And
Mm,
sometimes they're not very close. Like I think the
yeah.
one was about 3 miles away, and when you can't hear them in the morning. Horses are a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
They're great for getting in there, but then you got to go back to them.
Yeah.
I think I prefer the backpack. It's nice to get into it. So if you went in and had a Wrangler like an outfitter would, maybe a little bit different story. But boy, there's pros and cons of each way. But yeah, that Wilmore is a really interesting spot. There was lots of game in there as far as seeing moose and caribou and goats and wolves. Yeah, really nice spot.
So I've never hunted like mountain country in Alberta, but everybody I know, all my friends and people that I've talked to, they all kind of tell me that there's no secret spots really in those mountains, and there's a lot of sheep hunters. It's a pretty generous season though, from as far as time goes, and then lots of interesting kind of quirks and intricacies with the Alberta sheep hunting, with the late season stuff where they come in out of the protected areas or mines and all that. When you're doing those horseback hunts in those days, were you bumping into a lot of people in the backcountry?
you're always bumping into people.
Yeah.
So I mean, the next year actually, when took my first ram, my buddy and I went into an area that he had been shown by another friend. It's about an 8 hour ride back into that area, and we're in there 3 days before opener, and the outfitter comes by and he's sort of giving us a bit of a actually I shouldn't giving us a tough time. He was pretty good. But then another hunter came in there the day before opener, and he was the old outfitter that sold the thing, and he's going, "Oh, you guys aren't going to find anything here." He says, "There's going to be, because there were helicopters going into this area dropping off hikers." He's like, "Yeah, there's going to be 20 guys being dropped off by helicopter up there with the granola, eating spandex pants. You're going to be walking all over these hills. You're just wasting your time."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sounds good. Yeah, sucks." All he was trying to do is scare us off.
Yeah, trying to divert you.
Yeah. So, the next day the day before opener, we went up on this one ridge, and right to the top, we found rams right away. Like just good fortune, right? Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes you just got to be lucky. And last and saw some really one ram just reminded me, and I'll never forget this ram, because he was not a young ram, but he flared out so far, he looked like a doll.
Wow.
But he'd never make that legal. But he was a little bit older ram, and there was one in there which I thought was for sure legal, just breaking his eye. But yeah, when we were hunting there, it was a little bit different, Chuck. Like we're just looking for sheep. We're just looking for legal sheep. The difference today is that, and I think it's good, is that we're looking for age.
Yeah.
And I know bighorns, if I understand correctly, breed a little, maybe a couple years before, like a stone, like a stone, they say 7+ is sort of the breeding. You're probably looking at 5 to 6 is when some of those bighorns start breeding. Is my understanding. I could be wrong. But yeah, we went into that area, and opening morning went right back up that ridge, and looking, we spotted the ram sort of midway in this bowl. Lo and behold, I looked down, and oh, here comes the guy we met the day before, the old outfitter, coming up that middle. I'm like,
sure.
Bastard, right?
Was he on horses coming right up the drainage?
No, he had dropped his horses. So I'm like, "Hey, Jimmy," I said, "can we just quickly make it around to that other side?" So what we did is we just, it's probably only an hour hike back to the horses, got the horses. We went around to the next bowl.
Okay.
So he came in, pushed those sheep over into that next bowl suite. We're looking up high, and we saw them coming in. And it was a long ways. Like it's probably, a mile back there, at least a mile and a half. We figured they're going to be into those flats. So climbed this rock face, which was pretty bloody sketchy. He said it was sketchy. Damn, it was sketchy. That was steep. So we climbed up this steep. It was probably only 30 meters, but man, if I fell, I would.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially if
again,
you're not used to it, right? If you're not used to it too, it's so scary.
Well, the thing is, back, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago, nobody had a spot device or a Zoleo or InReach. We just, I would tell my wife, okay, I'll be back in 12, 14 days. I kind of put a pin on the map. If you don't hear from me in 2 weeks, there's a problem.
Yeah. Search and rescue.
Search and rescue, right? That's what we did. So yeah, we end up seeing these rams coming down into the flats, and we had an idea where they're coming, and it was just wide open. And that's the longest I've ever belly crawled. Like we belly crawled about 300 yards. We're just belly crawl, and you're got my blue jeans on, and we're not dressed like they are today. Didn't have the same sort of gear.
Yeah.
Didn't have a rangefinder. Couldn't afford a rangefinder. Well, I guess I could have made choices because I did have horses, so I get sold.
Yeah, probably could have, but you got a lot of money in those horses.
You got a lot of money in your. Oh yeah, horses aren't cheap. So crawl across, and we kind of stop, and Jim pokes his head up, and he goes, "They're right there." So I kind of look, and they just sort of come over this rise, and we're laying down about 50 yards away. And he goes, "Oh, there's that nice flare one." I remember just because that flare one is the one I just love. He goes, "Oh, it's not legal." He goes, "Shoot the last round." You know, Jim used to guide for sheep. So when he says shoot the last round, so lay it on, just hit it, and it's only 50 yards. I mean, it's 7 mag. They're so wimpy. Like sheep are really not tough. I
Yeah.
hit him and he flopped
Well placed
over.
shot.
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh my God, sure hope he's legal. And Jim looks at me, so do I. And I'm like, what? And he for about 20 seconds, he didn't say anything.
He's
He
just
just
messing with you.
smiled. Yeah, he was messing with me. My heart wasn't feeling too good. He was about a half inch past him.
Yeah.
He knew how to judge sheep. But how he would judge him there is because it's 3/4 curl. He would put his scope, from the base of the horn to the eye, and if it crossed that, it's legal.
Use the crosshair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Real quick way of judging it then. Yeah, it was it was a 5-year-old ram. I didn't know any different. I was excited. I was like, great, good looking ram. If it had 3 more years, then it would have been a great ram. But
So this was was this your first horseback hunt back in the backcountry then, or your second one?
that would have been my second one.
Second one, right?
Second
Okay.
one there. And yeah, the next day, we got that ram back. Jim and I went looking for another one, and across this valley we spotted another band of rams. Like, just good fortune.
Yeah.
Snuck into, well, he thought it was 350 yards on a nice ram, and he shot 3 times over it. It was only about 200 yards.
Oh
And,
yeah.
oh yeah, he's probably still kicking himself for that one, because it was a really nice ram. So we spent about 5-6 days, and then things started getting warm at the end of August, and pulled out. And it's, the horses are great in many ways, but like I say, it's great to get all the way back in there, but then you have to take care of them.
So how many were in your string then? So 2 guys. How many horses did you have on that trip?
4 horses.
Okay.
4 horses. I think Jim brought 2 60s of vodka. I brought one thing of whiskey. Well, I figure if we tagged out early, we might as well have a good time.
Sure. So what was camp? Did you have like the traditional wall tent and all that too, or did you go a little lighter on that?
Yeah, we had a Coleman 3-man tent that we bought at Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
And some inflatable rubber mats that let the cold through the ground really good.
Oh yeah.
We were pretty basic. So, you don't have to get it was pretty, but hey, we killed sheep.
You did, exactly. And you did it on horseback, which was the same way guys were doing it back in the 30s, right? So
yeah,
it's cool to have that story under your belt. But I'm fascinated I just love all the old sheep hunting books and nostalgia. And you got like the Gordon Eastman YouTube channel now that's out there, and he shows some of his father's sheep hunts from, like, I don't know, wherever it was 50 years ago, right, up in the Northwest Territories, the Mackenzies. And you just look at the gear that these guys had. Like Blake collects these Trapper Nelson packs, and I play around them. I got a couple of them here, and just for kicks, a couple weeks ago, I haven't told anybody this yet, but I'm always messing around with gear, packs and stuff, right? So probably about 4 or 5 months ago, I did a little project, and I'm going to do a video on and show everybody how it worked out. But I took a Barney's pack frame, brand new pack frame from Barney's out of Alaska, and I had an extra EXO mountain gear bag, like a 5,000, and I mounted it, kind of rigged up some compression straps and stuff. And my idea behind that is that's going to be my moose and elk hunting day bag, right? I could go on a sheep hunt with it, but it's just a little bit heavy. But the concept behind that is you can do it with an EXO pack, or you can do it with any pack, but I want to be able to load like a full quarter on there, no problem, have it strapped on in a couple minutes, nice and sturdy, without having to stretch everything, right? And I was looking at that and I'm going, all right, so I threw a 40-pound bag of pellets on it, and that's my training pack, and I've got a stair mill. So that's one of the routines, is I run that pack, and I do it all winter long. And I thought, just for kicks, I'm going to strap this on the old Trapper Nelson, see what it feels like. And I've got the pack. It's all sitting here now, but I put that 40 pounds on that thing, and I stuck it on my back. I don't think I could go a kilometer with it. It frickin' sucks. It is like these guys that would kill 1 ram, 2 rams, and carry off the mountain. More power to you. But you look at the way things, and then do it in blue jeans and do it in cowboy boots, and 50 pounds of wet wool shirts and jackets, right? Like, think about it. Isn't it crazy how far it's come? Unbelievable.
I mean, I did have a pair of Danner boots on that hunt, which were okay, but they're more like a moose hunting,
Yeah.
and my backpack, it wasn't quite like, remember the K-Way packs we had back in the day, they're just little clips. It wasn't much better than that. So when you throw 50 pounds on your back, by the time I got back to that horse and threw that thing off, because all the weight's on your shoulders.
Your
Like
blisters and whatever.
it's pretty darn heavy. But yeah, that was good. That was a good sheep hunting spot in there. And some of my
So,
favorite pictures is me coming out with that pack string behind me. You got
oh yeah,
the pack boxes on, and you got the nice canvas over top, and
oh yeah,
there's just
very
something
cool.
that nostalgia about leaving the
Sure.
pack string out.
That's one of the things we're going to touch on. One of sort of the themes I want is sort of the emotional attachments to sheep hunting, and
Yeah,
the sentimental attachments. And there you go. There's the nostalgia of sheep hunting, doing it old school, first ram, didn't
yeah.
know a thing, wet behind the ears, learning as you go. Luckily, you had a mentor, right?
I
You
did
had your
have a
buddy.
mentor.
Yeah, that made the difference, right? On whether or not you got a ram or
For sure,
not.
100%. Wouldn't have got it
So
without him.
then, yeah. So then, now the hook is set, right? You're a sheep hunter. You're going to do this again. Now, you mentioned in your notes again, or referring to him, which again, thank you. And it was a 2007. Your boy was 15 years old, and he drew a tag, right?
Well,
All
you could
right.
buy him over the counter.
Okay, so he didn't have a draw. He got it. It was an over-the-counter tag. I thought that's
Yeah,
the way it was in Alberta. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah. No,
what? So did you get back and say you got to try this, or how did you convince a 15-year-old to go out with dad the next year?
I think with him, if I said you want to do something, he'd do anything I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, just passionate hunter, just
Hmm.
absolutely love hunting. So his birthday is August 24th. So he was 14 when we were going in. I said, "Hey, you want to have your 15th birthday in the mountains? We'll go do a sheep hunt." "Oh, sounds great, Dad. Love
Yeah.
to do it." So went to Walmart, bought him some camel, which was that
Hmm.
Remington camel, which really isn't very good. Um,
Yeah.
but I did go buy a wall tent. So I went and got a 10 by 10 wall tent. I think it's at a wall tent in Montana. It's sort of a teepee, and it has all the poles.
Hmm.
And I was living outside of Innisfail in the Bowden Penitentiary. They had a welding facility there, and I knew one of the guards, and they actually welded me up a stove the exact same dimensions as a pack box to put on a horse.
Yeah. I've
So
seen them. They're awesome.
yeah, yeah, I
Hmm.
ended up selling mine just recently because I don't think I'm getting back into horses. But so it'd be great. Put your stovepipe in there, put everything.
Hmm.
So we'd go in, we'd have our chain, so him and I go in. I got my chainsaw, I got the stove, we're all set up. It's a long ride. It's an 8-hour ride in there, and
So
I guess
again, the two of you, two guys,
yep,
father son.
yeah,
Nice.
father son. I
Oh,
think this is my favorite sheep hunt because it was with him.
sure.
We get about 2 hours into the ride, and Colby goes, "Are we there yet, Dad? Like, my
Yeah.
ass is really getting sore."
It's starting to suck a bit.
I go, I just started laughing and go, "Man, we got like another 6 hours." He definitely said some choice words. It was
Hmm.
like, whatever, we're going in now.
Hmm.
And we had just such a great experience, the two of us. That was that was fantastic. And it snowed like a bugger when we were there. So
Hmm.
when we went, first day was the 25th as opener. Um, it was foggy, cloudy. We did see one, sort of half curl ram that day. Next day went into a different drainage. Didn't see any rams. Next day went to another one. Didn't see anything. By the fourth day, it's just white. Like, it looks like winter up there.
Hmm.
Rode the horses, and I have some just beautiful pictures of him and horseback. And we get to this far bowl. We're about 2.5 hours from camp. Get this little lake, and I kind of peek up. I'm like, holy crap! There's two rams sunning themselves. Like, there's a nice little spot. We're about 500 yards away, 600 yards away. Sneak in. Wind's kind of blowing. We can get to 375 yards. That's it. I can't get any closer. It's just a total, bowl dished out like that.
No cover. Nothing.
There's nothing. There's nothing. And I did get a rangefinder, so that was a great thing to have. So I range it 375 yards. Colby's got the 243. I'm like, all right, Colby, shoot him. He goes, geez, Dad, that's a long ways, like 375. I'm like, well, Colby, I've seen you shoot gophers at 100 yards at 22. He's just a big gopher. I'm sure
Yeah.
you can hit it. Okay, all right, Dad. So I lay the pack down. Like we didn't have bipods. We lay the pack down. He kind of puts the gun up. He goes, well, I can't see it, Dad. What do you mean you can't see it? I can't see the sheep. What do you mean? I can't see through the scope. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh,
Right.
no.
So I grab the gun and I look. The scope's all fogged up.
Oh boy.
Oh, geez. And I left my 7 mag back at camp because I didn't, for whatever reason, I don't know why. I just did. So I'm looking through the scope because it'd been so moist. You know, it was a gun I borrowed. We had lots of moisture, humidity, and it just fogged up. So I'm looking, and like, hey, Colby, you know, if you look hard enough, you can actually make out the ram's horns. So I handed him the gun, and he gets it. I said, just take your time and look. We turned it to 9 power. It was a 3x9, and he goes, oh yeah, I can make out that ram because there was 2 rams there, and both legal. He goes, well, which one, Dad? I said, well, shoot the one on the right. Where do I aim? I said, just aim below his chin. And the reason I said that is because I figured he's going to pull the trigger.
He's going to jerk it a bit, probably. Yeah.
You know, jerk it. You're excited. He squeezes off, and I just see, poof, snow fly right in front of it.
Right under the chin.
Right under the chin. Exactly where he's supposed to be. Like, ah, crap. You know, load another one. Of course, you know, when sheep, they hear that sound, they jump up, they run a little bit, and then they just, you know, what's
look
going
around,
on. So just put it over his back 6 inches and shoot. And he shot and he spined it. Just dropped it. Was, you know, so it was 400 yards at that time with a 243.
Wow,
And
nice shot.
like, what a shot. He is a really good shot. I've seen him, but just dumped it right there. And we were so lucky we were able to get the horses right to them.
Oh wow.
Like, so pulled them down a little bit, got the horses, boned them out there. And I didn't have a tag because one thing in Alberta, which I kind of like, is you shoot a ram 1 year, you have to take a year off.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I like that policy.
Yeah, it's not a bad policy. So it was my year off, and he got just a beautiful. It was a 7-year-old ram, which for that area is a pretty nice ram. He was pretty much full curl. He didn't know now he realizes what he did. Back then, he just shot a sheep.
Yeah.
Like,
so did he stick to sheep hunting then? Does he hunt still?
yeah, well, he still hunts lots, but he's living out by Lloydminster, and he's kind of lost this. When I moved to BC in 2013, he kind of lost his sheep hunting buddy. So you know, so he hasn't kept it up. He's pretty much sticking to. And now he's in the he's got a family. He's got 2 young kids. So now he's kind of in the where I was back at his age.
He'll come back to it. It's still there. That bug is still there. So so there now you got your kid hooked. Did you go back? Did you get a second bighorn? Have you taken more than one then?
Yeah, I took another one, and I went back there with a buddy. So the next, I think it was 2 years later, I got drawn for cattleman.
Oh, you got that's right. I remember you told me this. Yeah,
I got that cattleman draw, and it's I think it's 437 Red Cap Mountain. It's not right. There's sort of the coveted one which borders the park. This one's right behind mine. So my chances were 1 in 100 of getting it, and I drew that dang thing.
Wow.
So I went that summer scouting before. Didn't really turn anything up. 5 days, I think it was 3 or 4 days. I took my Swiss buddy B on. He's my hunting pal, and he used to wiry and tough. That guy's a great guy to take sheep hunt. So him and I took the horses, and I said, well, I think this is where they're going to be. There's a big bowl behind the mine. I said, if we can get the horses up in there, I think there'll be sheep in there. So there's three tags drawn.
Okay.
So we get up bright and early, get the horses loaded. There's a little bit of a parking spot where I found a trail. Get on that trail. Ran into one hell of a big grizzly bear on the way up. You know, and they're so fat. Like, I'm riding. This bear stands up 30 yards ahead of me. really dark bear. When they run off and their fat's jiggling off their.
Just rolls. Yeah, I know the ones.
Geez, that was a big bear, and kept going up, and we just sort of break out of the timberline, and I can see about 400 or 500 yards. There's a guy with another horse ahead of me. I'm like,
Oh,
shit. Okay, we tied off and we hiked. we cut
Cut the
off and got
distance.
in front. So he's taking the big long loop around. So we got ahead of him, and I could actually hear him curse because he was probably about 400 yards. He saw us ahead of him, and we peek over this. First time we peek over, and I spot 4 rams, like right there, like just
Really.
sometimes it's just dumbass. Like you hunt enough times, sometimes you just get lucky.
Sooner
So
or later.
Sooner or later, you're going to get lucky. And there's 4 rams there, and I'm just kind of, okay, I see rams. And I look a little further down, I can see blue jeans. I'm like, oh, crap. Well, there's a guy. He's lined up on these rams right now, laying out. He come from the bottom. So, I mean, talk about hunters, like hunting pressure.
So all 3 tags are there.
All 3 tags are right there. Right, it's called running for a ram, I guess.
Yep.
So, boom, he shoots. So I see these rams scramble off. I'm like, okay, well, let's go run around another half mile and peek over the bowl, peeking over. I didn't think they'd go that far. And then, yeah, we saw this nice ram just sitting on a knoll, well past full curl, but he's in the spot where if I hit him, he'd been just gone. I mean, gone. So I waited for him to come off this knoll, and he walked in front of us and shot him, and he tumbled. I mean, that guy tumbled. He was pretty messy. I think we only got about 30 pounds of meat off of that guy. It was
just chewed up.
Oh, it was chewed up. I felt pretty bad. It was pretty gross. Not a long ram, but he was 3 inches past his nose, like just super tight curl. I think he was only 32 inches, but a really nice 8-year-old ram, but not one that, and knowing now what I know, I may have looked for something a little bit different, like maybe more broom, more this, but I'm just like, wow, that's a cool ram. Like he's tight curl, he comes right up. That's neat. I was just hunting sheep, Chuck. Like I wasn't out there looking to fulfill a slam, or I was just hunting because I love mountain hunting. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's the mindset that you hope people have. What year was that one?
I think that was in 2009. And then, Biot for great hunting buddy. I took him out the next year. I took him to my hunting spot, tried to find him around. We went late season, went that last week of October.
Yeah.
That's damn cold in Mullins. Went last week of October for a week. Just couldn't turn up a legal ram. Went the next year for the last week. Couldn't turn up a legal ram. And then I moved to BC. But
then there's another hiatus then from sheep hunting, right? For a period of time, right?
Yeah, I sold the business in Alberta and moved to Kelowna. My wife's from Switzerland. She always said how much she sort of missed the mountains. And so we moved to Kelowna. It kind of reminded her a little bit of Zurich.
Sure.
And I don't know if you've been there, but
no, I haven't. Yeah, I've been everywhere in Europe, but yeah.
Quite an interesting place. I don't really fit in. I'm a little too red around the neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved to Kelowna, and then I started up another business. So I really focused on that for about 5 years. Then I went and bought a jet boat because then I was going to start going sheep hunting. And a buddy of mine's like, I'm going to get into shape and I'll take you to a spot. And after 4 years of him not getting into shape, he finally like, okay, well, next year I'll get in shape and we'll go. I'm like, okay, fine. Well, 2000 runs around, and we had a little virus go around.
Oh, 2020.
2020. Yeah. Geez, I'm dating myself, right? That's why I don't have very much hair left anymore.
Yeah. We talked about the light last night, remember?
Yeah, that's why I said I better put it because I got the shine going on the forehead.
That's a low maintenance haircut, my friend. I'm jealous.
Very low maintenance. So yeah, 2020
COVID comes.
COVID comes, nobody can go up north. And I swore when I turned 50, I was going to go to the Yukon. I just wanted to go to the Yukon. I know. I just had this thing about wanting to go on a hunt. And I wasn't even caring if it's sheep or caribou or moose. And 50 came and went, and I didn't go. And the next year, 51, the buddy says, "Hey, there might be some good deals. If you're really interested in going, this might be the time to take advantage of it."
Yeah.
So recommend to me was to go with Mervyn. So that's
Oh yeah.
Tim Mervyn with
Yeah.
look up Mervyn's Yukon sheep.
Mervin's Yukon. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
outfit.
he runs he's got a good reputation for a really good sheep area. Talked to him a couple times, and he wasn't going to give his hunt away, which I kind of liked. He says, "You know what? I'll do it at US at par if you're interested. If
Yeah.
not, I'm just going to leave him on the mountain. That's it." Like,
And that was, if I recall, then what was the exchange rate like during COVID then? So like it was still would have been a pretty good deal no matter how you slice it.
yeah, probably the low 70s, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it was a good deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, back then it was 25,000 US. What's the sheep going like? I honestly I don't know. What
Oh,
would
in the 70 now,
Yeah.
60 to 70, I think, for and upward. And if someone's on here that can correct me, I did a little research not long ago, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's still they're just going to climb every year in the next 5 years. That's what a couple outfitters I've talked to about.
Yeah.
It's on my list too. Like my retirement's coming, as you and I chatted, and
Yeah.
I've thought about doing a big sheep hunt to celebrate that in the Yukon or Northwest Territories. But unless the dollar changes, and I just look at it and go, I just can't do it. Like it's just going to be too much to invest in. I know I'm kicking myself. I'll be kicking myself when I'm 70, but yeah, it's not what you paid. Definitely not.
No. I mean that was a pretty, and I was choking doing that. And I made a deal with him too. If I bought a caribou tag, and if I saw a caribou, if I recall, it was $10,000 to add on that caribou. And
Yeah.
grizzly was the same. I think it was 10 grand if I shot a grizzly. So yeah, flew up there with mask on and everything, and went into his area. And what a great experience, because they had horses. Well, this was awesome. So
Sure.
his daughter and son-in-law, they were the guide and wrangler for me, and I had so much fun. Like for me, it wasn't like being guided, because I knew how to sheep hunt. I knew how to spot sheep. I knew how to put saddles on and do all that stuff. So it was just like going hunting with some friends.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they were kind of laughing even when I was tying the horses up to a tree, and she'd go, "Oh no, let me do that." I'm like, "No, I can do it. No, let me do it." And I can do it. And I tie. She goes, "You do know what you're doing?" I said, "Yes, I actually know what I'm doing." Like,
I've had horses. Yeah.
yeah. So that was a great experience. Great people, super nice. Yeah, ended up getting a really nice ram, but it was cold. Like it was September 11th, the 7th day of the hunt, when I got that ram. And
Well,
it
tell
had
us a little bit about like what was it like as far as the population of, and how many rams were you glassing, and like the selection process, like how did that all go?
I'm glad you asked there, because they're really picky.
Yeah.
Their minimum was 9 years old. If it's not 9 years old, we're not shooting it. And I said, and they said, unless it's the last day of your hunt, and we turn up a really nice 8-year-old, and then we'd consider it. So we were seeing sheep every day. We were seeing rams every day. Even in crappy weather, we were seeing. Yeah, we saw rams every day, and that was fantastic. There's a lot of sheep up in his area, lots of game, and it's just nice being on sheep every day. And
So then tell us about the actual the selection of this one and the stock and the hunt and how that all went down.
The funny thing is, we saw this ram the very first day, within the first 4 hours, but you didn't get a good look at him, and he was only about 100 yards away, moving fast. But that shows about, you got to be right on judging these rams. So come day 7, we're up on this mountain they called Second Chance or something like that. I think it's because we named it because I said I think I need a second chance at that at that
Another
ram.
look, yeah.
Another look at them, and it was cold. It was about, I bet you it was -7, -8. We had a big dump of snow. Poor Brody's water bottle was frozen solid by the end of the day.
It's cold.
Oh yeah, it's pretty darn cold when it freezes up. But we get on top of this mountain. We brought the horses about 2 hours in, and then we hiked up through willows and crap, probably another hour and a half, 2 hours to get up top. We spotted these rams pretty darn quick, but a quick look at them, and then they just moved to get out of the, I think just get out of the wind more than anything. Get up the top, end up spotting them, and they're probably 500 yards away. So then we're doing the belly crawl thing to get in, and it was so darn windy, Chuck. We end up sneaking within about, I think it was 350 yards. But that cross one is you can shoot at 350? I'm like, no, I can't. Not with this cross one. I'm not going to take it because I don't know where to lead it, because I'm going to have to put it somewhere in front of it. And I said, I just don't want to wound a sheep. And
what are you shooting for a rifle?
I got a 300 short.
Okay.
150 grain, so it's flying. And I was estimating at 350, I'd probably have to move it probably 18 to 20 inches with that wind drift. And I'm like, I just don't want to take the chance. I said, well, let's pull out. Let's pull out and come around straight at him. If coming straight at her, at least if it's not so bad, then I'm not too worried. So we got to about 375, and we're pretty exposed. Poked our head up, and those rams busted us. And they're going over into some chutes and kind of out of our life. So we're sitting there kind of licking our wounds, which I'm sure everybody's done. You're like, this is day 7. They're probably getting a little stressed up, right? Because they want to get need help and want to get me a sheep. I'm sitting there. All of a sudden I look, and lo and behold, there's two big bull caribou coming over the top. And I saw this one big bull. We saw him 3 days earlier, about 20 miles away. And I go, Amanda, it's Amanda and Brody. That's her name. I go, Amanda, there's the caribou. And she goes, okay, get your gun out. And I go, why? I said, how in the hell are we going to get this thing off this mountain? She goes, we can get the horses in here. I'm like, oh, cool. So he turned broadside. I bet you it was 50 yards. Like it wasn't close. And boom, hit him. And I could see I was going to say the steam, but I could see the vapor come from when, life went out of his lungs, and he just dropped right there. Really nice, big bull. So go there, get up, take some pictures. And this is probably about 5 o'clock. So take some nice pictures, and we're kind of sitting there in the wind. It was really cool. And I said, well, why don't we go see if we can find that ram? Like, yeah, let's go take a look. And why not? We're up here anyhow. So we go to where we'd sort of last saw them. We picked up the tracks, went around probably another half mile, and Brody goes and sticks his nose over the top, and he just like right here. So he gets his spotter out, and I kind of peek my nose over, and they're about 250 yards down, and he probably 20 minutes he's looking, he goes, yep, got one for sure. That one's good. I said, okay, which one? So whatever, the one on the left. I don't know if you ever shot downhill, laying downhill. That sucks.
Yeah, it does a lot. Yeah.
I wish that Amanda would have been holding my boots. Like it would have gave me some more comfort. So I just laid the bag down, and when I shot, big puff of snow, I couldn't see anything, but I hit him good, and went over and toppled over, but just down the sheet, just sheer scree, gnarly stuff. But Brody just ran down there, and he's doing the fist pump and up in the air, and he's yelling, "It's 10-year-old!" Like he was so excited. And that's when I first started to realize about age. I didn't know really much about age until, like, call me naive, but I learned more about aging and age then from them. But wow, what a day! Yeah, nothing like getting a double header, and we didn't get back till 2 o'clock in the morning that night, and it was exhausting. Like I have to say how exhausted I was, and I can understand why Yeah, I know. I don't know if you've ever hit the wall, Chuck, like where you bonked, like you're done.
Oh yeah.
There's yeah, and there's nothing left in the tank, and it was probably we're going through willows down this steep stuff, and you're just pushing through them, and we sat down, and I'm thinking to myself, now I know how guys can die on the mountain. Like
Hmm.
you're just gassed, absolutely gassed. So yeah, I got back at 2 in the morning, had some Sapporo Ichiban, went to bed, got up around 9:30 the next day, and just went and picked up that caribou. It was about 4 hour ride one way, and we didn't gut it. We didn't feel dressed, like we didn't want to leave any scent, because I was worried there's going to be a bear on it in the morning, but nothing had touched it, not a thing.
Wow.
So yeah, the next 3 days I just helped them clean up camp. They're like, well, do you want to go home now? Or I'm like, no, well, what can I do here for the next few days to help you out? So I was helping with the corrals and helping clean up, because I was the last hunter of the time, but of that hunt. So yeah, that was a wonderful experience. Really enjoyed it, and good people. I guess that's my first guided hunt. I'd never been on a guided hunt before,
Hmm.
and having someone that you connect with, and it is just special, because I've heard some guys have nightmares, and boy, I just had a wonderful experience with Tim's daughter and son-in-law. They were just awesome to be around. Great people.
Well, it sounds like an amazing trip. You know, I've done a few guided trips over the years, and internationally and in Western Canada.
Yeah.
And I think on more occasions than not, I've become friends with the guide, especially if it's a long hunt, right? And you go through the highs and the lows. Now, we'll say this: there's a couple that I wouldn't hunt with again, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. Like it's not a dating game, right? But you're building relationships. One thing you hit on there that I want to touch on was the choice not to shoot in the wind.
Yeah.
And congratulations on that. And then of course age. And our buddy Ron Dirksen there made a comment here in the chat: age. All the rest doesn't matter. He's totally right. And I
Mhm.
think the ethical shots really mean so much in today's world, right? There's so many animals just get wounded and eventually crippled or dead because of poor shot choices. And I'm going to release a little video here. I've been working on this project, developing a load and really breaking in and getting to know this new rifle, this Alpine Rifle Craft 284 Winchester. I got the
That's
load
your
built.
284. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 175 rounds through it now, and I've dialed that rifle on targets to 650 yards, which is, when I say my max range, that would be my max range if I had wounded something in advance of that, say at 400 yards, and I had to do a follow-up shot. I would try out to 650. That would be the only time I would shoot that far. But just to prove myself proficient with that gun, to hit those targets, I've got a spot up by my cabin where I can shoot 10-inch steel gongs out to 600. I can go to 1,000, but I only go to 650. And I've got a video of me shooting in probably a 20-kilometer-an-hour right to left crosswind,
Yeah.
and at 650 yards, shooting a 160 grain Nosler bullet going 2850 feet per second, high BC bullet.
Mhm.
And you can see in the video, like, you've got this frame holding the
Yeah.
gong, and I've got flagging tape on a tree for the wind about on both sides, 6 feet on either side. I'm aiming 6 feet to the left. I aimed at the pink flag, squeezed the trigger, and the wind pushed it all the way over. And I smashed that. It took one, I was able to hit it in one shot, but the point of that is there is a lot more, there's a lot more impact with wind on your shot than people think.
Oh,
And I'm
absolutely.
going to release that video here in the next week or so, just to prove out a point. And I just personally think, I don't think people that profess to be long range shooters, a lot of them don't do enough to really know what their limitations should be. And all you got to do is do a little bit of long range shooting or even short range shooting at 300 yards. You know, like you're shooting a 300 short mag with a 150 grain bullet. It's flying, but that 150 grain bullet is going to have a lot of wind drift.
Yep.
And you know it's not a heavy bullet. It's not. I don't know what the brand was, but I can tell you, you made the right decision because you probably more than likely would have either missed or hit it in the ass or in the teeth or in the foot or God knows what. So congratulations on all of those smart decisions. That's just coming from years of experience, right? Like your gut told you.
And bullets will get pushed a long ways. Like I know where my ballistics are on that. In that, well, I shouldn't say, but I'm sure in a 10-mile-an-hour crosswind, it's moving almost 10 inches.
Oh yeah.
Right at
Absolutely.
300 yards. So that's a long way. So I mean, you can play the wind. I mean, it's fast. It's a fast, but it doesn't have that high BC. Right?
Yeah. Well, and guys in the prairies that shoot, if you shoot gophers or you know stuff like that with a rim fire, I mean, it's just practice. I just encourage people, like, the range is great, paper targets are awesome, dial turrets are great, but you got to know your rifle.
You got to know your rifle.
Stupid. Exactly.
Well, at 257 Weatherby Magnum, I've got. I might have to actually take that thing out one of these days. But that thing, that flies, holy.
Oh yeah.
But
all right, so
grizzly country.
The Yukon is in the books now, and now you're living in BC. So now you've got two of those slam rams in the books.
Yep.
Well, technically you've got 3 sheep now. Talk to us about hunting sheep in BC. What did you learn in BC versus Alberta as far as how it's different?
Well, it's different because the terrain is totally different. And so I finally put my jet boat to use. I got the X on the spot, where to go. It took a guy 7 years to tell me. Finally, he told me, and I was ready to roll. So I had a young guy that was in I keep wanting to say 2001. I can't believe we're in the 2020s, man. But in 2021, I had a young guy who was 19 years old, was going to go on a hunt with me, and he blew his knee out about a month and a half before. I'm like, for crying out loud. So phone another buddy of mine who's a power lineman. He goes, yeah, I'm in. so we X marked the spot, and we found a really good sheep area. It was gnarly getting into. It was, 5.5-hour jet boat ride up, 12-hour hike up into the Alpine, which that's a long day. Like I don't care what anybody says, that's a brutally long day.
Mm-hmm.
We found sheep, and we spent 6 days up top, but they were a long ways away. Like we could see the range they were on, but I'm like, man, I'm not spending another 10 hours to get there. I mean, that's just me being lazy. I'm just be quite honest. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. We're just hoping they'd come over to our. There's lots of sign where we're at. I'm like, if we just wait long enough, they're going to come to us. They never did come to us, but I learned a lot about that area where the sheep move around. And then the next year, I phoned my neighbor. He was Scott, who's a little younger than me. I phoned him up about 4 months before season, or maybe 6 months. I can't remember. It's probably around February, so probably six to 8 months. Hey, Scotty, it's Andre. Hey, how you doing, Andre? I said, you know what? I'm looking for someone to go on a stone sheep hunt. Do you want to come? Yep. I'm like, do you want to ask Marlies and see if it's okay there? No, I'm coming. I'm in. Like, nice. It was he was pretty excited. He'd never been on a sheep hunt before.
Right on.
He'd been moose hunting, a really good moose hunter. He's got some real big bulls, like 60-inch plus bulls, and it's a nice BC moose, and good deer hunter. So he got into shape. We went back to that place, and we found rams. But what I was really keen on this time was age. I really wanted to make sure that we had the right age, and we found rams on day 3. We're on the far range where I'd been looking the year before. We're watching a band of about 7 rams, and it's quite a ways away. Well, all of a sudden they just scatter, and this big grizzlies comes right down chasing these rams. Yeah. And I'm like, just kind of an interesting experience to watch that whole thing play out. So the next morning we get up and we hike up the ridge to this top where we sort of been glassing, and I poke my head over and holy crap, there's a band of rams right there, about 300 yards away, and I get the spotter on it, and there's one that's, he's decent, but he's not full curl. You can tell it looks like a mature ram, but he's not full curl. So we duck out to get closer, and they kind of buggered off this way, that way. Eventually picked up these one rams, came over, and we're only like 40 yards away. 7 years old. Well, one might have been 8, but I called him at 7 to say no, he's a 7-year-old ram. So there was actually 2 bands there and they split. So Scott went off one way and he's just weighs me down, and this ram standing on a rock about the size of a, I don't know, Volkswagen Beetle, maybe a little bit bigger than that. He's just standing on there. I'm like, okay, well, we should go get close in. So we snuck down, got close in, we peek our head up, we're only about 50 yards from rock, can't see him. We belly crawl right up to that rock. I stick my head over the rock and they're 20 yards away. Like right there. There's 7 rams, and the one that I'd sort of identify, don't have that nose. They just have that nose that you can look like, and a bit of a belly, and just look. He's not full curl, but he's darn close and looks old. He comes and walks within 15 yards of me, turns his head backwards, and I count 8 right around the back quickly. Then he turns his head and I go, was that really 8? Then I count 8. Oh shit, was that really 8? Because his annuli were so packed together, like sometimes you'll see them have those distinct lines, and you can really see them well. This guy was so hard to tell. Like they just weren't easily identified. And we had where these rams came within 10 yards of us, and we're sneaking around the rock one way, and the wind's blowing at us. They're going around the other way. It was like something off of Bugs Bunny, for crying out loud.
Sure, yeah. Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know.
So we call it Peekaboo Rock, right? So,
okay.
Yeah, I call it kind of our Peekaboo Rams, because we're playing peekaboo with these things. That was Scott's term. It was really funny, and I'm on that rock. I remember having my binoculars. I'm looking, and I got my foot in maybe a half-inch toe hold, and this ram's looking right at me from about 15 yards, staring at me, and I can't move. I don't know how long it had to be, I want to say 10 minutes, but maybe 5-10 minutes. Your legs cramping up, and so then they moved off, and I just couldn't see it. But I was so convinced that this ram was legal, but I didn't want to, shoot around and you got to be 100% sure, because he didn't break.
Absolutely.
It was all about, as Ronnie put there, age. The rest doesn't matter. Absolutely right.
So was he broomed at all, or was he had lamp tips, just wasn't breaking the way the curl was?
He just came really deep down.
Yeah.
Really, really deep down, right? And shit, sometimes that happens.
Yep, exactly. And he probably, like you said, he had all the indications, had the stack, had everything, right? Well, good choice.
Big body, like a big body. Like he just was significantly bigger in all the rams. And but there was, the 2 rams are sort of hanging out together. There was 7 rams, but these 2 were definitely tight. So we picked them up the next day again, and belly crawled into about 250 yards, and he's just over a little knoll, and just couldn't get him to stick his head out. By the time he got up, and he's just walking the other way. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking. You're trying to, that's sheep hunting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the great thing, with sheep, is they don't move too far typically, unless you get busted. And if you get busted, they're going to be gone. Like caribou. When you see a caribou, you're probably never going to see that bull again. Like they're constantly in the move. So all night it was just going through my head: was he legal? Was he legal? Was he? I don't think he's not legal by length. So next day, go up the same hike. I peek over this one little bowl. Well, lo and behold, there's a band of ewes, that band of rams. They're all right there, less than 100 yards. And then they all just bed down. Perfect spot. Sun's hitting it perfectly. Crystal clear day. I just set up the spotter, and took me about an hour. And I go, yep, 8 all day long. But that was the younger ram I could get a poke at. So there's those 2 rams I talked about. So
okay.
The smaller one, yep, 8 all day long, guaranteed. And I'm like, I got to get the rings out of this older ram, because he's an older ram. Like, I know he's older, but and finally he turned his head just a certain way, and I could see that 8th one clear as a bell right across the front. But he just had to turn his head a specific way. I'm like, done. I said, Scotty, we got 2 rams here. He always talked about doing a double header. And I said, we got 2 legal rams here. I said, I'm going to shoot that old guy, that big gray faced one. As soon as he stands up, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to shoot the other one, go at her. But I said, man, this is going to be hell. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do it.
So Andre, so was that his first and your first at this point? So both first rams. Okay.
But yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
That's my first stone. That'll be his first sheep, period.
Perfect.
Well, we made a decision that day, because he'd been carrying around his 10-pound 7 mag, to just leave it at count.
Yeah.
So I get set up, got my gun there. Okay, I'm all ready to go, for this ram to stand up. Go get a granola bar, drink of water. Like, there's no hurry. They're not going anywhere fast. Like, unless
you got all day.
Got all day. So I'm just, kind of waiting there, chilling out, and Scott says, so funny, you're Mr. Casual, until all of a sudden the Rams got up, and it was just like, boom. I got so excited. It's like, just like a cat, like, just your heart's just going crazy. And, laid it on him, and that ram just tumbled. And the other ram so I handed my gun to Scott. The rams kind of dispersed. Found it maybe 60 yards from us. He went down, boom, shot it. And it kind of ran across. And I said, okay, just don't make him, don't say anything. Just be dead quiet. We sat there for an hour before those sheep finally,
the other rams left, yeah.
Yeah, all their rams, they did not know what happened.
Hmm.
So we decided it'd be a great idea to pull the rams together, because his was only about 75, 80 yards from mine.
Mm-hmm.
Pull them together, like, let's get a picture of us with these 2 rams together. So this is never going to happen. Then the work starts.
Yeah.
One guy in a ram, that is so much weight. So I don't think he didn't realize, I don't think, what this is gonna be like. So, I've done this a lot, enough times with deer and other stuff. So I bone everything out, load his pack out, bone all mine, load pack out. He goes, put his pack on, gets up, stands up, and he just gives me that look, and he goes, "Oh my God, what have we done?" Right? And exactly. That kind of gravelly voice, I just went, "Welcome to sheep hunting, son." Right?
Yes, exactly. Holy cow. Yeah, it's a cool picture of the 2 rams. And well, that's an experience. Well, and good for you guys for double check next day, sleep on it. A lot of mistakes are made by not really making sure.
So
obviously that's not the ram that's over your shoulder. That's a different ram, right?
Yeah, different ram. That one.
That one's pretty hard. That one's pretty easy to tell. So this was so that ram behind you. Yeah. What year was that? Was the next year then?
That was the next year.
Wow.
Yeah, because the year before I got it was a 9-year-old ram. Really nice.
So yours was 9 and your buddy's was 8. Okay. Yeah. Both legal. Good first rams. 9-year-old first ram. Congratulations. Nice work.
Yeah, I was pretty happy, and his teeth were shot. Absolutely worn right out. But boy was he big. Like, just the size difference was amazing. But didn't have that nice cape like my buddy Scott. Just had that beautiful cape. Was just fantastic looking ram. So the next year, Scott and I go back, and same area, and we decided to push further in, another range over. So we spent 2 days or 3 days at we got these sheep. Only thing that kind of turned up, we saw rams in the farther range. Only thing that came through camp was a grizzly. So I got to talk to you about the pack alarm. So we'll be
okay, good.
So we're packing up to go to this, we're going to the spike out. It's about 6 hours away. And I could hear, he goes, "Do you hear that?" You hear sort of a grunting and noise and something in the bush about 50 yards away. And I'm like, "Oh, Scott, it's just a caribou. Don't worry about it." Because I've heard caribou, it sounds
like that weird noise, yeah.
Yeah, that weird noise. Yeah, it sounds just like a caribou. Well, we get up top, and I'm looking back, and I can't see a caribou. right? And I left my tent and food cached at this spot. So we took one little Kuyu tent between the two of us. Two big guys in those little Mountain Star tents is pretty damn cozy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, a little too cozy. At least it wasn't like planes, trains, and automobiles, and I didn't wake up with my hand around him and kissing his cheek. But it was a little.
At least you're not telling us that anyway.
Well, I'll tell you, what happens on the mountain stays on the mountain.
Exactly.
Oh, that was crazy. So we spike out to this spot, and we spent the day there looking. We turned up, some ewes and stuff. And said, well, the next morning I have half a liter of water. Stupid me. I grab half a liter of water, my gun. He grabs a little bit, and we just took one gun this time. So we're just taking one gun. Maybe that's not the best choice, but lugging two guns, it just adds an extra weight. So we go up, top about a kilometer away. We're just going to go spot and see. Well, I come over to the top and I look right down in the bush, and I see rams. Like, frick, like they're 1,800 feet below us, like way down, right in the bush.
Wow.
And one had, I could see bases on one. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. But it was so windy. You've been there, Chuck, where you can't set up. Everything's shaking. You can't look at them. Can't get a good look. And they kind of ducked into some trees. I'm like, well, there's sheep down there, and like, so let's see if we can go down, a couple hundred feet, see if we can get in peak. And we go another couple hundred feet, and then another couple hundred feet. Well, shoot, we dropped 1,000 feet in elevation. It's 30 degrees. Like, it was so bloody hot up there. And I'm sitting there. I'm on my poles because you got, hiking poles are great. I don't know if you use hiking poles or not.
Oh yes, I do. You bet.
Man, what a awesome. So I'm leaning on my hiking poles, kind of going, ugh, do I go? Do I go further? Am I going to see them again? Just that. And Scott, bless his soul, he goes, well, it might be our only chance. I'm like, yeah, you're right. We got to go. Right. I just needed someone to give me. And that's one thing I think with sheep hunting with a partner.
Oh yeah.
Do you find that will push you along a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think, you get that, I call it the left brain, right brain argument, right? You get whether it doesn't matter if it's a buck or if it's like the next ridge or, I think part of the human psyche is to always look for the way out of something, right? So yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. And then you get that partner who's like, it's not, comes up with something positive. It's not that bad. We'll be there in an hour. Like, how many times has your partner said that to you? Right?
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
I did the same thing to him. Goat hunt's a whole different story. It's goat hunt we did this last year, got a nice billy. But anyhow, so I said, okay, let's just keep going. And we're going we go almost to the tree line. Like, we're getting into that, 15, 20-foot tree, kind of semi-open. And that, what do they call bog birch? That kind of gnarly stuff. Oh, terrible. Terrible.
I call it hell. That's what I call it. Ed Thompson's got other names for it that are nicer, but it's shit. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think I call it bog birch. So we get into that, and so there's a little bit of a trail, and just go a little bit, glass, go a little bit, and then boom, all of a sudden I see this young ram. He's close. He's 100 yards, if that's okay. We drop our packs and kind of sneak, I sneak up about another 30 yards, and I pick out this one good ram, and he just beds right down some sort of, waving Scott to, come on up, and bring my spotter, and because I had the gun, bring my spotter, and I sat down, and I'm just see this one ram just gets up, does a stretch, and I'm like, oh, that's a good ram. And he stands up for a bit, and I'm like, 9. It's a 9-year-old ram. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And then all of a sudden this other one just gets up, and I'm like, holy shit. Boom, down immediately again. I'm like, Scott, sorry, because I told Scott he could kill the ram. I said, unless there's one that I go, holy hell. I said, this is the way it is, and man, because it's my spot, kind of taking him.
My spot, my boat.
Yeah, I shot him. I shot the first ram last year. He got the second one.
So technically, you're up. Technically.
And I spotted him, but I thought him. I said, listen, you can shoot a 9-year-old. You can kill him, unless I go one that goes, whoa, makes my eyes pop. Well, this ram just briefly gets up, and I just see mass. I'm like, holy shit. Beds back down. I'm like, okay, this ram gets up. Got up again for maybe a minute, and I look, and I'm like, 8 above the nose. I could count 8, just easy. It was just my binoculars. bed's back down. So I got the gun. I just used my tripod and I just kind of put it there for just balance. And then all of a sudden I just feel stuff going up the back of my hat. Like, what the hell? I'm sitting in an anthill.
Oh
I'm sitting,
shit! Yeah. Oh, they're awful.
I'm sitting on this effing anthill, and I got this ram, the 6-year-old ram. He's just staring at me, like he's just bead eyes at me. I'm pinned. I can't move. And Scott's sitting behind me. Says, Andre, I could see the ants going up the back of your neck, up into your hat, coming around on your jaw. Like they were just crawling everywhere, and I couldn't.
Were they
move.
biting you yet?
No, they weren't biting me.
Oh, you're lucky, because some of those bastards will start chewing on you.
Oh man, we were there for over an hour. Over an hour, I'm sitting in this damn. I don't know how long it was. We were at least an hour, and I'm set up to race. All of a sudden, the ram stands up. I didn't even. I just hammered him. Like it was not even.
Mm-hmm.
And then because there's that 9-year-old there too. So
Another
I shot
double header.
So double header, right? So the rams run off. So I give Scott the gun. We go up the side. And we picked up those 3. I'm like, yeah, that's a 9-year-old right there. But the 3 of them were stuck together, and he couldn't get it separated, and they ran off, and they're gone. And I'm like, thank God, because we were so far down, Chuck.
You're way out there, yeah.
Oh, it took us a bit to find that ram, because what was interesting, so we came back and we're kind of quiet, like we didn't make a lot of noise, and that young 6-year-old ram was still looking around, and he walked right up to that ram, like we could just see Bushy looked at him and just stood over him for 4 or 5 minutes, just trying to process what had happened, because he was definitely the lead ram, and there's something about leaving an older ram there, because maybe they need it for finding where to be in the winter, or
for sure
definitely, definitely a hierarchy, right, in structure. So yeah, it took us about 10 minutes to 15 minutes to find that ram. We kind of had it misjudged, because it was in 3 foot, 4 foot high, that hell stuff. And so we get in the shade. It was so hot. I had maybe a couple 100 mils of water left. That's it. When you're so dry, your throat hurts.
Yeah.
Didn't have enough water. We deboned him, did that. He goes, Scott, what time is it? Like 3 o'clock. He goes, it's after 7. Like by the time we got, we hiked up. By 9 o'clock, we just dumped the meat and did that last climb. I said, I just can't go anymore. I'm done. I've hit the wall. Like I said, let's just dump it in these rocks. Come back in the morning. It'll be good here. Well, we just hit the wall. We just couldn't do it anymore because we had no water.
Ran out.
And I came back, drank lots of water, and at our age, Chuck, if we don't get up in the middle of the night, there's something wrong. We're dehydrated.
Exactly. Well, that's a stomper of a ram. What? So, what did he age out at, and what length are those horns?
He's an 8-year-old ram. Okay. And the length, he's only 34 and change, but he really curls and flares. But his bases they're just over 14.5-inch bases, and he carries that mass way down, like way down. And that's what got me. Is like, he reminded me of a bighorn. When he turned sideways, I just went, oh, just because that mass carried so far down. But he's broomed off. And you
can see, so just looking over your shoulder, you can kind of see, how it's got that little bit of as he comes down, the main beam kind of does that little twist and blade on the inside, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, he's very cool looking around. Beautiful cape on him too. Nice white face.
Yeah, really class. He's probably broomed off a couple inches. Like I think he's 35 and 34 and a half. He's broomed off a couple inches each side. I love the round.
Yeah, me too. I got my buddies Kevin Willis's big twister sitting over my shoulder here, and I just he never tells me when to bring him back. I borrow him for Sheep Show, right? This is one that was up at our booth, and I spend a lot of time talking to this ram. He's my motivation for the treadmill and the stair mill. Is just I look at that and it's like, oh yeah, gotta go. Yeah. Wow, right on, man. So I have a question for you. with regards to the jet boat, did you have a lot of, like, when you bought your jet boat, did you have previous jet boat operator experience prior to
None
your sheep
whatsoever.
hunts?
Nope.
Yeah.
Zippo. Went in really pretty blind.
Hmm.
All I heard was it's easy going up, it's tougher coming down.
Okay.
But
And what's your what kind of jet boat do you have?
I got an 18-foot Hughes craft with a 200 sport jet,
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
it's got all the UMHW on the bottom. And
Hmm.
I actually had to get all the. I hit it. I think I hit a pretty good rock the first year, and I did about $15,000 in damage. So when I came back to when I came back to my boat, there's about 6 inches of water in it.
Oh
And
shit.
I'm glad I was only gone for about 6 days or 7 days. If I'd gone more, I would have been submarine. So
Hmm.
yeah, I had to get it all. It's full of foam too, and that stuff was completely saturated. So I took it to a guy out of just outside of Chilliwack, and he totally redid the bottom, redid it, pulled all
Hmm.
the foam out. What a difference! There's a few good. So it's really I really do enjoy the jet boat.
Hmm.
Um, it's a good way of getting back, but there's something about flying in too. And you fly in, you tend to be at a higher altitude.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's something about a river. People are like, "Oh, that's an adventure." I say, "Well, if you think about mountains and drainages and rivers,
Mm-hmm.
where does the river leave you? Well, it leaves you at the lowest possible point,
Yep. Oh
right?
yeah.
And so everything's uphill from the jet boat, which again, yeah, it's awesome. I've done more jet boats than I have fly-ins, but this year I'm looking forward to a fly-in for something different. I've done like four or five boat hunts in the last few years, but yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm just looking at the time. We've probably got a good 20-ish minutes left,
Oh,
and
okay.
there's a
Good.
couple things I want to touch on. We've got one more sheep to talk about.
Mm.
But before we dive into the story of that ram, again, back to my theme about all the reasons why, you're hunting. So, you've kind of got all the bases covered with family and friends. And now, there's a pretty special moment you had with your father that really convinced you the
Yeah.
slam was in the cards. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. If you'd asked me 10 years ago if I even knew what a slam was, I don't think I did.
Really.
I hunted sheep because I liked hunting sheep.
Hmm.
It wasn't about um, a grip and grin, or I guess maybe trophies and walks. I do like looking at them. I have to admit, if I
We're all lying if we say we don't, Andre.
oh
We're all
yeah,
lying if we say we
I
don't. There's nothing
I love
better.
and I love looking at the pictures of
The
being in the
stories.
mountain, in the stories. And I've
Hmm.
and yeah, my dad, big bird hunter, really
Hmm.
really into birds, and probably over harvested a few times in his in his life. But yeah, he caught pneumonia. This would have been just over 2 years ago, and in 2023 passed away in January 2nd, and he always lived vicariously through me. And
Hmm.
he was really excited when I wrote an article on the Dall sheep hunt that got published in Eastman's,
Hmm.
and he loved that. He goes, "That's great, Andre." He loved reading that article. And I got a call from my sister. He'd been in the hospital. He'd had been having some lung infections off and on. She goes, "No, and Andre, like this is bad. Like
How
you
old
better."
was he at this
80,
point?
turning 82.
Okay. Okay.
He was
Okay.
82 years old, and says, "Yeah, you got to get here now." So New Year's Eve on I guess in 2022, I fly there and go into my dad's room, and he kicks everybody out.
Like
Just
family. Family
family. Yeah.
nurses, whatever. Yeah.
I go, "Well, I want to talk to my boy." Because his voice is going, and he's always had a
Yeah.
very strong voice, and he he goes, "Andre, I just want to let you know, how proud I am of you."
Right.
Yeah. Um, that was, he says, both of you, I have a sister as well. Says both yourself and your sister. I'm so proud of you, and what you become as people and individuals, and how you treat people. I really respect what you do. And he goes, "I really want to make sure that everybody knows that you did everything in business on your own." He says,
Hmm.
that was really important for him to tell me that for some reason. He goes, I just that's really important, that people know that you did your own, and I didn't give you anything. He says, you know, because there will be those people who said that I helped you out, and I didn't, and he kind of went on about that. And sort of the end, he goes, and I think you should get your slam or something within that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And you know, that sort of sparked me to think about that. And he also asked me to take care of my nephew Raymond. Now, not to take care of my nephew Raymond, really loves hunting and fishing. But my brother-in-law, my sister, they've never been involved. And my dad was a huge mentor in his life. And Ray would be now, oh, he's 26, 27. But he says, yeah, make sure you take care of Ray. So he's the one that sort of motivates. Honestly, it's sort of like maybe a dying father's wish to be fulfilled. And that really is what made me go, yeah, I'm going to go. I want to go do this. I want to get my slam. So yeah, he passed away 2 days later. And what a great, you know what, people say it's a horrible experience. I was so fortunate to be with my father pretty much right up till the very end. And
you had that last moment, right? You had that last conversation that you needed to have with him.
Absolutely. We had that conversation for both of us. I needed it. He needed it. And I mean, but the guy kept a sense of humor right till the end. I think this is really funny. So, you know, my brother-in-law was going to stay with him until, you know, about midnight, and then I was going to come spend, because once they couldn't do anything more, they just give him sedatives to make him comfortable. And eventually the pneumonia just is going to take over. And he's going to pass. And it's about 8:30. I'm still sitting there. I probably should have been gone an hour ago. And my brother-in-law, Jim's, are just go on, or get some sleep. We'll be back in a few hours. I'm like, I'll just stick around for a bit more. All of a sudden, to our surprise, he opens his eyes. My dad, not my brother, Jim. My dad opens his eyes, looks at the two of us, and goes, "Am I dead yet?" and I go,
Is there a white light up there? What is that?
I said, no. Well, my brother-in-law's last name is McMullen. So I go, I said, I've been trying to pillow you for the last hour and a half, but McMullen won't let me. And he just had this big smile, and his last words to me were, "My boy," right?
Oh, too funny.
And then I went and he passed about an hour later. And that was, I think that's a great story. It is, darn funny.
For sure.
Yeah, I get a tear thinking about it, but God, he had a sense of humor right to the end.
Oh, congrats. Yeah, those, at least you got to be there, right? I mean, I had kind of a similar story with my dad. We had our last moment, and to be able to get that, it's so important. So many people don't, right? And, you know, like, you're laughing about it now, and you got that positive memory. But then your dad said, get the slam, man. Go get that last sheep, right?
Get the last sheep. Yeah. So, it was, I decided not to drink for 3 months, which is probably a good thing. And there was the guide outfitters had the auction in Kelowna. And I live in Kelowna, so I subscribed to the Mountain Hunter magazine. Yeah. And I'm looking through the auction items, and there's a desert sheep hunt. And I'm like, I better go buy a ticket and let's see how this goes. And I was pretty determined I was going to buy that hunt. If it went for, like, if it was going to go stupid, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So I actually happened to be sitting beside Kyle Stelter and who else was Peter Gucci. We're at sitting the same table as me, and up comes the auction, and I have this thing where my hand just goes up. It's probably because I used to buy cows and sell horses and stuff back in Alberta farm as well.
Farm auctions, yeah.
Oh, farm auctions, they get me going. Nothing like a good auction. I always end up buying something that I don't need. Yeah. I were coming home with 26 cows once. I bought this quarter section, and I said, I'm just going to go buy 1 or 2 cows just to, boy, I was not popular in my house at all. Because my wife just had a C-section, and I was supposed to be just taking care of her other kid, not cows. Yeah, I digress. So
I'm familiar with this auction addiction. Yes.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know all about it. So does my wife. Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
Yeah. Well, I was in Mexico. So anyhow, they auctioned off this hunt to Mexico. So it was with DesertHunt.com. Luis Romero was the guy, and actually Nolan Osborne. He had hunted. They'd come up and hunted with him.
Okay. Yeah.
So, oh, Andre, these are great guys. These two guys you'll love. So they came up with, they brought a case of tequila with them. They had a great time hunting stone sheep. And I'm like, oh. So he says, this guy's got a great reputation. You'll just love hunting with him. I'm like, okay. So end up, I don't even want to say how much in case my wife listens to this podcast. She won't listen to it. But anyhow, I end up buying that hunt, and it was a hunt for myself and a guest. So I'm like, perfect. I'm going to take, if I can, my nephew Ray with me. So
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
right?
Yeah.
To kind of fulfill my dad's last wishes. So it took a while to get it arranged. Like the communication wasn't the greatest, but eventually I got it all cooked together. And yeah, February 15th, myself and Ray flew down to Hermosillo. And from Hermosillo, you just shuttle over to. We're just on. Just trying to think of Tiburon Island. We're just across from Tiburon. Total free range, and that was incredible. But it was kind of funny. We get to go picked up at the hotel, and it's a black Chevy Suburban, and there's like 8 of us in there, gear on the top. Like it was just like you would picture.
Yeah, the cartel has arrived.
Well, now there may be some of that within this whole thing, because the guy who owns this ranch is the brother of a guy named Carlos Slim. Now, Carlos Slim is worth about $100 billion. So, but he's in telecom, not cartel stuff. But I don't know, maybe he is. So, yeah.
It's Mexico, man. I know all about it.
Oh yeah, it's Mexico. Yeah, as they say, yeah, all the politicians are corrupt. It's just to what degree.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Interesting.
So
place.
it was interesting. So yeah, so we go to this ranch, and with the guide we sort of arrange it with, but there's a bit of conflict between the ranch owner, because the ranch owner also had offered hunts, and then the guy we bought it through, Luis Romero and his buddy. So there's a little bit of friction. So anyhow, we end up the guys who sort of got the hunt through, they kind of took off and left us kind of with the ranch. But fortunately, one of the guys actually was the wrangler for Nolan. For many years. So
yeah, I know. I think Nolan's talked about this fella on the podcast. Different.
Yeah,
podcasts.
Lorenzo.
Yeah,
great guy.
Lorenzo. Yeah.
So Lorenzo's there, and then another guy that guides for Keel named Kelly Robertson. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for Kelly Robertson and Lorenzo, this would have been a disaster. I'm just calling it.
They just held it together, right? They held
it
together for you.
Kind of held things together. So I mean, first day, we see a nice. It's interesting. You see a 4-year-old desert, and they're pretty big. They got some big bases, but day 3, I'm with the 2 local guides and with Lorenzo, and we go way up, and it's hard hiking. Like actually, I thought it was gonna be easier. It was tough and hot and angly. And this 4-year-old ram pops out, and the guy who worked for the ranch, sort of their guide, he's like, shoot it. And I'm Chico, like it's too small. Like all he wanted us to do, shoot the first ram, get out of there. Right. And I'm trying to find something with some age. So next day I go off with Kelly and Lorenzo, just me, Kelly, Lorenzo, and Ray, and we spotted a really nice ram. Couldn't get in on him. But the next morning we get up, and I got to go again with the whole crew. And there's some friction definitely between. It was myself and Kelly. Lorenzo actually caught the flu, so he was sicker than a dog. So it was Kelly, myself, Ray, and then the 2 local guys. And what was really awful is they just run ahead. They're standing straight up. They're wearing blue bright. He's probably 100 yards ahead of me, waving. I was like, come on, like this. Well, frick, we see these 2 rams running up the hill. They're like 400 yards. They're like, shoot. And it's the pretty good ram. And then, like, I'm PO. Kelly and I are ready to just kill somebody. Like, we're pretty upset. So the one guy just kind of walks up, and he busted another ram. This ram comes running out kind of in front of us about 100 yards. And I'm looking, I go, shit, Kelly, what do you think about that ram? He goes, just let me look. He goes, so the first one's too small. That back one, they dipped. Came up another side, and he's like, okay, he's got some age on him. What should I shoot? He goes, it's up to you. You say he's got some age? Yeah, he's got some age on him. Out of sight, comes up. I said, how far, Kelly? 300 yards. Boom. Paced him at 300 yards with, well, I had to borrow a gun. It was a 300 Ultra Magnum of all.
Oh, geez. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I hit him. And you know what? I just was to the point of frustration where, you know what? These guys are going to bust things out. And he's a 6-year-old ram. He's a desert sheep, free range. You know, he's not like a Tiburon, but
yeah,
nice ram.
Yeah.
And it just happened so fast, so fast.
Well, it just tells you how different it is, right? Like it's not, you're not in the Yukon,
Not
right?
in the,
And you're not in the Wilmore, and you're not up, Mystery River on your jet boat either, right?
no,
You are where you are.
And if I just been with probably, Kelly and Lorenzo, been a whole different game. But they just want it kind of dead
Move you
and
on.
move on. Like, and yeah, it was, but anyhow, it turned out to be okay. And, Ray comes up and he goes, Uncle Andre, you got your slam. Grandpa would be so happy. And he gives me a great
Yeah,
big hug.
there you go.
And, we both had a couple tears in our eyes, and yeah, it was pretty emotional. It was really special to, to have him by my side, like right there with me when I completed this slam. So it's kind of a little surreal. I have no idea how many guys have got slams. I'm sure there's thousands of them, but I haven't met any. But I wasn't. Maybe I'm an atypical slam guy because I didn't do it for maybe the typical reasons.
Well, you know what it is. It's kind of like a lot of guys will pursue that slam in a, more of a calculated 10-year, 15-year plan. Yours is almost, I don't want to call it accidental, but it was like,
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm here. I can pull this off.
There we go.
Like the accidental slam.
Accidental slam. You know what? I should write a book on that one. I've got.
Yeah. Well,
I got to ask you a question, Chuck. Have you been writing down any of your stories, like of your hunting adventures?
I have not written them down. Luckily enough, I have a platform where I can just talk about it. So I haven't had to write them down. I have written some articles on some stories, and Blake's been edging me on to do that. But yeah, there is a lot, right? I think a good example of someone who's done that is Tony DeBonis. There's just a regular guy that, he managed to channel all of his stories into a book, and now he's got some YouTube videos and stuff. And yeah, I think we all should though. Everybody's got them, right? Look at the members that we have in our community, like some of the stuff that's there. That's why I love doing these, right? I get to hear all these stories, and you get to share with us and the members on Spike Camp. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. And there's so many stories that I've, had from moose hunting to deer hunting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I started writing them out. So now I've got about 10 stories written, because I figured, it's be good for my kids to look at it sometime, my grandkids to read about. Grandpa, you actually did that? I'm like, yeah, I actually did some of that.
I know a good place where you can post them. You've been posting stuff lately, man. I've seen a couple. Like, fire away. Don't hold back.
I've got time on my hands now, so
right on.
I enjoy doing it. I think it's really important, and I really like what you've done, Chuck, with Spike Camp, because it's a way of getting hunters together, and you're going to be able to connect some guys. And there'll be guys that want to go sheep hunting for the first time. They have no idea, and there'll be maybe somebody on this that says, hey, you know what, I'm looking, who wants to go this year? And there might be some good connections that you might go, hey, you know what, Andre, you're looking for a guy to go this year. You know what, I can't go. Why don't you take Blake?
Yeah,
like
that's happening. It's funny you say that. I know of a few guys. There's definitely some guys teaming up. People are mentoring. Yeah. And even if it's not, taking them out on hunts and stuff, there's certainly a lot of momentum, which is what we really wanted, was the momentum for people to share. And, like, we're all going in the same direction. That's the whole ethos of Spike Camp, is, a united kind of front for hunters, get more young people into it, mentorship, sharing knowledge, no flaming. You guys have all heard me talk about how, it's an anti-flaming platform, and there's no question, there's no such thing as a stupid question on Spike Camp. Ask it and you'll get an answer. you know, and that's the cool part. But
But
yeah,
even being
hey,
here to help
before
guys.
we run out, I want to make sure we do something. We talk about something. You and I have chatted about it, and for those that
Yeah.
know you and follow you, you know they know this about you as well. You did recently sell your business, and you're kind of playing
Yeah.
around with retirement, but you're working on some really really important stuff right now involving OCD and mental health.
Yeah.
Well, take a minute and just fill everybody in on what you guys are up to. We got a couple minutes. We'll give you a couple minutes to kind of talk about that, and then we'll start winding the show down. But I think it's really important you get a chance.
Yeah. You know, no, thanks, Chuck. It's a very personal experience, mental health, with myself and my immediate family. And men a lot of times do not talk about it, and we ignore a lot of the symptoms. We and I think a lot of us put a lot of responsibility of any mental health with children upon our wives, and ignoring it a lot of times ourselves, and a lot of times guys will run away. So mine's from a personal experience. So my wife has been the real spearhead for around a project called Connect for OCD, and it's a very personal experience of what we've gone through with my daughter, who's doing quite well now. So we've been investing a lot of time and energy into bringing mental health awareness, particularly around OCD, and a lot of the stigma that's around it and surrounded by it. It's it's not a fun illness.
No.
Um, you know, compulsions are very very difficult. It can tear families apart. I am so fortunate to have a very strong wife, and we have a very strong bond. But when you have a child who suffers, it can tear your family apart.
Mm-hmm.
So we've come up with the platform Connect for OCD. We're going to do a lot of support for families. We're trying to bring resources because we could not get any resources in Canada to help our daughter out. And we had to go to the States. And it's a crying shame, an absolute crying shame about what we went through to try to get support for our daughter. And we want to make a difference in Canada to bring support for families here and try to give them a bit of a roadmap. You know, when you're out hunting, wouldn't it be really nice? You're going out stone sheep hunting, and if someone could kind of put an X on the map and go there, that's going to
Try
help
that
you.
spot. Yeah.
Try that spot. Well, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
There's none of that for mental health in Canada, particularly OCD. If you have a child who has compulsions or tics or these sorts of things, there's nowhere to frickin' go. There's no help. And
Mm-hmm.
clinicians are not trained. They spend
Mm-hmm.
half a day on OCD. It's like the red-headed stepchild. It's just pushed aside. So we really need to bring awareness because the more I talk about this, about 4% of all children suffer with OCD, and it's just so
Mm-hmm.
marginalized. So yeah, we just actually sponsored a conference in Calgary last week on a thing I'm going to tell. It's called Pans and Pandas. Well, not like the frying pans, but what
Mm-hmm.
it is, there's been a huge discovery. It's been known for many years that when your kid gets strep throat
Yeah.
or a virus, well, strep throat can lead to huge mental health issues because what it does is it actually inflames the basal ganglia, which are right in the base sort of your
Wow.
brain. Well, when you get an inflammation of that, what it can do is create psychosis, OCD, all sorts of mental health issues very quickly. And it's actually, I shouldn't say fair, I'm very simplifying it, but it's very
Sure.
treatable. Pans and Pandas is very treatable with antibiotics on a long term, like 4 to 6 weeks. You can take somebody who's in psychosis, they're drugging the hell out of them, they're giving them injections to try to keep them down. You treat the inflammation with antibiotics, symptoms disappear.
No
Now,
way.
it is absolutely mind-blowing. And you know what, this platform, and actually it's interesting, I got connected today with a member on your platform who actually follows me and saw what I did with Connect for OCD with Pans and Pandas. He reached out to me this morning and saying, I think my son has this.
Really?
And I had a long conversation going through it, explained what it's all about, and he goes, I've had so many tears over what's been happening to our son. They've had him, tied up. They've had him in rooms with just a bed. They've had him sedated. now it's starting to make sense. He suffered a
Really?
lot throat, and I'm just, holy shit. And it's just bizarrely, it's because he followed me, just happened to follow me by
Mm-hmm.
seeing something I did on a post with sheep hunting. Like
Nice.
it just connected today. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, that was absolutely amazing. So yeah, we'd like to make a difference, as my wife and I, and try to help out. So thanks for bringing it up, Chuck, because the more we can do, and
Oh,
this
for
is
sure.
mental health month too.
Yeah, and you know, you touched on it a bit. I think it's safe to say that most people, if not all, will have experienced a mental health issue, whether it's them or someone close to them. I
Yeah.
have, I had
Mhm.
issues in my family. My father suffered for years back when I was, I'm 57, and we had some pretty awful things happen to him when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, and I saw signs of mental health 40 years later, mental health issues. And it's there. And you're right, men, we're stubborn bastards, right? We can fix everything. We can fix anything. We'll deal with it. How many times, it's like, just deal with it. Well, you bottle it up, and sooner or later the lid blows off the top of that bottle, right? Or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations on that work, man. It's admirable. And I'm glad to see you guys are making a difference in, anything we can do to support, your your momentum there, and anything you need from us, you just let us know.
Yeah, no, I sure appreciate it. And and that's where try to educate people.
Yeah.
And try to honestly, Chuck, it's to the point now where I have the ability to give back,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to give back. So I don't want to have, if I can prevent other families not having to go through the pain that we did. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
when you have a child who, um, is asking that they don't live anymore.
Yeah, no, nobody wants this, man. Shouldn't happen.
That's the hardest thing, and you
Well, keep
understand
up.
why. You're
Yeah.
like, oh man. So anyhow, that's been pretty. We're not here to talk about that because that's a whole
All
other
right.
soapbox I can get on.
Well, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it. So we're running out of time. I got two quick things for you
Yep.
guys. First of all, Andre, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. We're going to get you back on again. There's a million stories. We'll start doing this more often. For those that are wondering, we have not yet drawn the May prize winner for the rewards program. Blake's just been super busy. It is bear season, so he was hunting all weekend. Give him some shit for that. But we'll get that done. The giveaway winner tonight, we're doing another Mountain Fuel bundle from This Is Coffee, Trail Fair Foods, and Wilderness Athlete. And Shelby Cayenne, you are the winner. So Shelby, I'll be reaching out. Congratulations. Something really cool coming. You guys are going to start working on the dates. Our sheep camp is going to happen early July, first couple of weeks. We've got a stack of prizes, some big stuff coming. So keep an eye out. Stay engaged on the platform. Again, Andre, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Everybody be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. We are officially out of time. Thanks for the camp chat. Talk to you guys soon.